Assalamualaikum and good morning to my lovely lecturer, Madam Izzy. So today we are going to present our assignment 2, which is the topic is cultured dairy product. So I'm not alone. Here with me, Nurain Ilyani and also Putri Nadia. We are going to present our topic that we are choosing sour cream. So let's get started. Before I start or move into the briefly short history of sour cream, I believe that everyone has taste before it. Okay, so you know the real exactly the taste of sour cream. So let's get started about the history. So sour cream is associated with American cooking, but it's originated in Eastern Europe. Historiographer believe it began in Russia. So in Eastern Europe, for sour cream, they are using for adding into any soup or goulash. But now in American immigrant, uh, mostly they are using sour cream for dipping any kind of snack or dish. So for early version of sour cream, actually was created from the when fresh milk left sit into the room temperature until the bacteria made it sour. So in Russian sour cream, they call smetana. And then smetana is most like come from a Mongolian beverage, which is alcoholic drink. Then they are called kumis. Mongolian kumis is made from the horse meat and also similar to the fermented drink, which is kefir. So actually, sour cream is not especially sour despite its name, but it's referred to the souring process. So this slide will be explain about the taste, varieties, shelf life, and also good sources. So for taste of sour cream, is like a buttery, might be sour, thick, rich, and also tangy. For varieties, there are three regular of sour. Sorry, there are three varieties of sour cream, which is regular, um, light or reduced fat, and also lastly fat-free or dairy-free. So let me explain one by one about the varieties. So for the regular sour cream, basically made from the light cream and contain not less than 18% of milk fat. For light or reduced fat, basically it's made from the half and half and must contain at least 25% less milk fat than regular sour cream. Though many on the market content for though many on the market there are content 40% of milk fat. And lastly, for fat-free and dairy-free, the sour cream contain not more than 0.5 gram milk fat per serving and include stabilizing as a thickening agent. So for the shelf life, refrigerated 2 weeks after the sale by date. So mostly when you unopened sour cream can last for 1 until 2 or 3 weeks beyond its sale by date. But when it has opened, refrigerated sour cream generally lasts for 7 and 10 days. So into the sour cream, there are many good sources of sour cream, which is, and for example, vitamin A, calcium, riboflavin, and also phosphorus. I just want to talk about the lactic. Under lactic acid bacteria, there are three lactic bacteria, which is Lactococcus lactis, subsp lactic, Lactococcus lactis, subsp cremoris, and lastly, Lactococcus lactis, SSP lactis, Biova diacetyl lactis. So maybe I think for early version, they're not adding any additive or preservative, but now they are adding additive and preservative to make it smooth enough to the product body and structure. help to product from a gel and also reduce the amount of whey synersis. So there are few additive and preservative that are that they are adding into the sour cream, which is they have a grade A whey, modified food starch, sodium phosphate, sodium citrate, guar, sphagnum, calcium sulfate, potassium sorbate, and lastly locust bean gum.
For this slide, I will explain about the chemistry of fermentation. First and foremost, as what we know, sour cream is using the lactic acid fermentation process. I will explain about the lactic acid fermentation process. Lactic acid fermentation is anaerobic respiration occur without oxygen that break down sugar, producing energy in the form of ATP. This process is named because lactic acid is byproduct of this reaction. The history of lactic acid fermentation, it was first discovered in 1780 by a Swedish chemist, Carl Wilhelm Scheele, who is isolated lactic acid from sour milk as impure brown syrup. For this slide, this is the lactic acid fermentation process. They have two steps. The first step is glycolysis and the second step is conversion of pyruvic acid to lactic acid. In the first step, glycolysis, it involves the conversion of glucose to two molecules of pyruvic acid, creating 2 ATP and 2 NADH. Glycolysis occurs in the absence of oxygen. NADH acts as the electron carrier and pyruvic is the final electron acceptor in lactic acid fermentation. For this step, the equation is glucose plus 2 ATP plus 2 NAD plus pyruvic acid plus 2 NADH plus 2 ATP. In the next step, which is step 2, conversion of pyruvic acid to lactic acid, each pyruvic acid molecule is converted to lactic acid, producing 4 NAD plus as the byproduct. 2 of the NAD plus go back to continue glycolysis. This reaction occurs in the presence of the enzyme lactic dehydrogenase. For this step, equation is 2 pyruvic acid plus 4 NADH to 2C3H603, which is lactic acid, plus 4 NAD plus. From equation first step and the second step equation, we get the lactic acid formation equation, which is glucose plus ADP plus NADH to C3H60 lactic acid plus ATP plus NAD plus. This lactic acid fermentation pathway where glucose is first broken to pyruvic by glycolysis. Then the glycolysis to pyruvic producing 2 ATPs is called homolactic acid fermentation. This pathway is commonly employed by some lactobacilli, Pediococcus, Streptococcus species. In this slide, I would like to explain there are some of benefits of lactic acid fermentation. The first one, product of lactic acid fermentation can improve intestinal health by inhibiting harmful bacteria in our gut. Second benefits is fermentation can increase availability of nutrition in food. For example, iron is more readily absorbed from fermented vegetable than non-fermented ones development. The third benefit is fermented milk may help treat high blood pressure. For example, during milk fermentation, bacteria produce blood pressure lowering compound known as angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, ACE inhibitor. And the last benefits, it can reduce symptom of lactose intolerance as lactose is broken down during the fermentation process. people with lactose intolerance can sometimes tolerate fermented milk products like yogurt and cheese.
Okay, for the next slide is the process of fermentation and metabolism basic of sour cream. So we start with the sour cream, standardization. After that, we will do the pasteurize, homogenize, and then after the homogenize, we will cooling, and then inoculation. After the inoculate, we will do the step of incubation. After the incubation, for the last step is for the filling in the packaging. Okay, for next slide, I will explain of this process. Okay, sour cream is prepared from fresh and sweet cream, and then we will standardize to contain 18 until 20% of fat. Then the standardized cream is pastured by LTLT or HTST method, which is low temperature, long time pasteurization. This process involves heating to temperature around 62.5 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes. HTST is high temperature short time pasteurization, which is using 72 degrees Celsius for 15 seconds or above, and then we will cool until 65 degrees Celsius. At this temperature, it is homogenized, employing two stages of homogenization process. For example, low temperature homogenized is preferred to promote formation of fat cluster, which during ripening flocculate and also increase the viscosity of the product and improve the texture. And then homogenized cream is then inoculate. So with this step, with 2 until 4% fresh and active starter culture contain the starter culture of lactic acid and flavor producing microbe of Streptococcus lactis, Streptococcus cremoris, and Diacetyl lactis. Okay. The inoculate cream is then incubate at temperature of 22 degrees Celsius. It is allowed to develop titratable acidity, desired body, and texture. It takes 10 until 12 hours to attain the desired acidity. For next slide. Mariam, next slide. Okay. Alright. Sometimes some thickening agent or rennet is allowed added to sweet cream to increase the firmness of the sour cream. When the cream has attained the desired acidity, which is 4.5 pH, it is cooled with gentle stirring and chilled to 2 until 4 degrees Celsius. Follow the packaging. So the cream after homogenized and inoculate is filled in the container, and the container or package are incubate at 22 until 25 degrees Celsius, and then the acidity will develop. Then the package are transferred to cold room where cooling of the product is achieved. Okay, that is for the process of fermentation sour cream.
We would like to present the sour cream process in industry video.
Do you like baked potatoes? Do you like them loaded with chives, butter, sour cream? Sour cream? What is it about sour cream? I've always thought sour was something not desired in the food world, but sometimes it is, like lemon or vinegar. What is it exactly about the sour in sour cream that makes it taste so good? Okay, before things get too confusing, sour cream doesn't start out that way. Sour cream is actually heavy sweet cream fermented with bacteria cultures derived from lactic acid. The bacteria not only changes that taste of the cream, but also causes the cream to become the thick and tangy concoction we dollop generously on potatoes and burritos. The term sour refers more to the production process of souring than it does to the mildly sour flavor. So what's the skinny on sour cream? Well, let's talk butterfat. There's less saturated fat than you'd get in an equivalent portion of mayonnaise and less saturated fat than some 12-ounce portions of milk. Luckily for the weight-conscious among us, there's light and non-fat versions that utilize stabilizers to replicate the thickness of regular sour cream. You can actually make a sour cream substitute at home. Take a cup of cultured buttermilk, add 2 cups of heavy cream, and leave that in a warm place, about 80 degrees or so, for 8 to 24 hours. The bacteria cultures in the buttermilk will interact with the cream, resulting in that thick, velvety goodness that so many people love.
So, do you have trouble peeling off those pesky sour cream lids? Well, manufacturers have got your solution, squeezable sour cream. They're marketing it right now. Just the thing you need to make any dining occasion that involves sour cream that much more convenient.
This is the video from our group of sour cream process.
So this is the last slide, which is the various of fermentation product. So there are many of various fermentation milk product or dairy product. So I will be say one by one. Okay. Firstly, as you can see, this is a branches of family trees of fermented milk. So let's get one by one. First is we got fresh cheese, and then two we got fermented wheat, which is dried to beverage and also vinegar. We have a natural buttermilk. We got sour cream, fermented milk. From the fermented milk, it's dried to heat treated fermented milk, and also we got baby or infant foods. We have a therapeutic or pharmaceutical preparation, and then we have a concentrated fermented milk. We got cultured milk. We got Scandinavian fermented milk, including growth types, under mixed lactic and also alcoholic fermented milks. It's dried to kefir, kummis, and yogurt. And then we have a fermented milk with selected insect bacteria. Last but not least, we have a mixed vegetable, mixed fermentation, and lastly, unclassified fermented milk. I think that's all from us. Thank you, madam, for your, having your time to watching our presentation for today. Okay, thank you and Assalamualaikum.